It's often said that we live in an age where Hollywood is basically 100% creatively bankrupt. One where all we get is superhero films and reboots, and the average studio's worldview can be summed up as fuck the art, gears your cash. You've got RoboCop, you've got Ghostbusters, you've got The Last Jedi. What you haven't got though is much creativity. And yet, weirdly, video games arguably do reboots as much as Hollywood does, and yet we're sort of fine with them. So why might that be? Let's have a look and see if we can figure this out. The first point is that reboot might not be the most accurate term when it comes to some games, and a more accurate word might be remaster. The first example that comes to mind, because I've been streaming it a lot lately, is Crash Bandicoot, a series that got remastered as the Insane Trilogy. While there were a few tiny tweaks to the gameplay, usually involving the hitboxes, what the Insane Trilogy is, basically, is the same 3 games but with a fresh lick of paint, and that's completely understandable, because why would you just port the original over to PS4 when you could remaster it for younger audiences who are used to spiffier graphics? You could hardly accuse it of dumbing down, it's still bastard hard, so a new lick of paint is not a bad thing really. Plus, if we've now got Crash, can we have Spyro the Dragon next please? I want my purple winged oven in glorious HD, please. After Crash though, another game got remastered, and it's yet another game I love. You're in a mall, you're surrounded by zombies, you're quite probably wearing only your knickers, and you've covered wars. Oh, and at some point a mad clown bastard is going to run at you with tiny chainsaws. It is of course Dead Rising, and it went down the same route as Crash by keeping the game the same and dabbing everything in a lovely new coat of paint. So once again, it's the same absolute insanity, but shinier. And then you've got the Master Chief Collection that brings the 4 Halo games onto the Xbox One. For this collection, the first 2 games have vastly upgraded graphics, bringing them up to parity with the later games, while once again keeping the story and gameplay the same. As a big fan of Halo, you can assume I fecking loved them. Now, there is one thing those games all have in common. As I said earlier, they are not reboots, they are remasters, in that each one is basically the same game but with shinier graphics. In essence, they're the Star Wars Special Editions of the gaming world, using modern graphical tech to bring the exact same experience to a new generation of gamers. So if they are mere remasters, do we have any examples of actual, genuine, full-on reboots? Well, as a matter of fact, we do. But it's even better than that. You see, we have an example of a good reboot and an example of a bad reboot within the same franchise. Subtitle Guy knows what's coming next? Yes, I'm talking about one of Subtitle Guy's absolute favourite gaming franchises, XCOM. We'll start with the bad reboot, 2K Marines. The Bureau, XCOM Declassified. I'm not going to go into the details, but ye gods, that game had a checkered development history, starting out as an FPS that was more like Bioshock than XCOM, and ending up as a third-person tactical shooter. Well, it claims it's a prequel, but it's really fucking not. It's not a bad game, it's just not XCOM. But that's fine, because the good reboot, oh lordy, the good reboot, developed by Firaxis and directed by the all-round good guy that is Jake Solomon, really is. I'm talking of course about XCOM Enemy Unknown, and it provides the perfect example of how to do a reboot properly, as well as showing why video game reboots are generally better than movie reboots. You see, what's the crucial difference between a movie and a game? It's very simple really. Unlike movies, games are interactive, so with a game reboot, the creators don't just piss about with the story to make it relevant. They actively change the very way you interact with the game, leading to an entirely new experience that can capture the magic of the original in new ways. In the case of XCOM Enemy Unknown, that means streamlining the absolute fuck out of it. Gone are the days of trying to calculate time units. With Enemy Unknown, using a system of 2 actions per turn, the end result being a turn-based system that produces some genuinely intense gameplay that thankfully still requires proper tactics. It's a triumph, with systems being streamlined, not dumbed down, and while, sure, some elements were cut out like multiple bases and base invasions, the game was a triumph. It was so much of a triumph, in fact, that it single-handedly revitalised a turn-based tactical game that most publishers had written off as being dead. It proved that turn-based games can be as intense and stonkingly good fun as real-time games, and without it, there'd be no XCOM 2, and Julian Gollop, the legendary creator of the original XCOM, wouldn't be currently making Phoenix Point. So basically yes, Enemy Unknown was how you do a reboot well, while neatly showing why we tend to be a bit more forgiving when it comes to video game reboots. I mean sure, we sometimes get bad game reboots like The Bureau, and proper, insidious, Hollywood-style shameless cash grabs made by complete hacks, but what we often get instead are reboots like Enemy Unknown. Given the alternative, I'm rather thankful for that. So, how about you lovely people? Have you got any game reboots you love? Have you got any games you would love to see either remastered or rebooted? Leave a comment with your suggestions, although if it's a shit one, Subtitle Guy might take the piss. He tends to do that. In the meantime though, thank you very much for watching. I am AutomaTitan, and I'm off now to plan the reboot of Subtitle Guy, where he's played by a woman called Reissue, and is actually competent at things.